talk
to
the Team
Tuesday
with WEB ROI.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our very first T5 Talk to the Team Tuesday. Before we get started, we're going to do a quick audio visual check. So in the question and answer box along the bottom, if you guys can just type in if you can see and hear us okay. You should also be able to see our PowerPoint screen. So if you could just type in the Q&A box. Okay, perfect. It looks like we're good to get going. All right, I am Denise. I am one of your hosts this morning. I also have Caleb with me. He will be co-hosting. You should be able to see Caleb's screen as well. If you cannot, or Caleb's face. If you cannot, if you just want to hover over the green screen share button, click on view options, and there should be a side-by-side mode. If that does not work, or if you're having any technical difficulties, please again, put it in the Q&A box. We'll try and help you out. Worst case, the default is the speaker view, which just means it's going to highlight who the speaker is. All right, we are really excited to start doing these monthly webinars. Each month, we will have a new topic on different digital marketing trends and practices. But to start, we knew our first one had to address the overwhelming amount of information and updates that have been happening these past few months. We thought we would break it all down, pull it together, simplify it, and then help and share to help everyone understand what's been going on. So before we get started, Caleb is just going to go through some quick housekeeping items for the webinar.
Thanks, Denise. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're really excited to be doing this. Just a couple quick housekeeping notes. All of your cameras and microphones are turned off, so unfortunately, we can't hear or see you. And the chat option is actually disabled. So if you have any questions, there's that Q&A box. Go ahead and use that. Even if there's any technical difficulties or anything like that, send us a message in there. We'll be able to see it, and we'll try to address that and help you walk through it. Now, throughout this entire webinar, we're going to be using some polls. Now, the polls kind of help us get you engaged a little bit and learn a little bit of information from you. So we actually have a sample poll that we're going to put up right now. So once you see this poll, you can go ahead and vote. So the poll is on digital marketing, and we just want to know, how has your digital marketing changed? So have you increased your efforts? Have you decreased your efforts? Or has everything kind of stayed the same the last few weeks and months? So if you can go ahead and select an answer there and submit it, we're going to be able to see those, and we're going to share those with you in just a second. I did just want to go back to the Q&A. If you do have any questions at all at any point through the entire webinar for any of our experts, go ahead and type it right in there. Like I said, we'll see it right away, and we'll address it in the webinar itself and make sure that we have some answers for you.
Okay, I'm going to end the poll here, so I'll share it with you.
So we see that 80% of you have increased your digital marketing over the last few months, which is pretty awesome. It's a good time to do that, and we're going to kind of discuss throughout this webinar some of the things that you should be increasing or things that you should be considering. So one final note is that if at any point you have to step out of the webinar or anything like that, we are going to be sending a recording in an email to you following the end of the webinar today, and that's just going to have an actual video copy if you need to go back and rewatch anything, or if you even would like to share it with anyone else. So I'm going to hand it back to Denise now to talk about our speakers today.
Thanks, Caleb. Let's meet who's going to be speaking today. First, we have our SEO wizard, Charlie. Charlie leads our SEO team here at WEB ROI. We also have Shaya, our PPC pundit, who oversees all of our clients' ad campaigns. This duo is going to be moving through quite a bit of content today, so if you have more questions after the webinar, or if you need help with anything that we go over, please reach out to us, and we're happy to see how we can help you out. Okay, kicking off today is all things organic with search engine optimization updates. Let's welcome Charlie.
Thank you, Denise. So jumping right into it, the first thing I wanted to discuss is Google's BERT update. Now, this was rolled out towards the end of 2019, but it is one of the most significant Google updates of the past few years, so it is worth talking about. Essentially what it is it improved Google's conversational language understanding in order to deliver more accurate and more targeted search results. It uses a similar AI technology to that used in Google Home and Amazon Alexa, those kind of things. Essentially, it helps Google to better understand the context of words with multiple meanings, like rose and bear, and people just generally kind of type or enter queries in a more conversational tone. So it helps Google to kind of understand that. I'm sure a lot of you have ran into a situation where you type a kind of a complicated question or query into Google. You get a result that's close to what you're looking for, but not quite exact. Like for example, asking Google, do I need a visa to travel from Brazil to the US? Instead, you get a result that's more about traveling from the US to Brazil. So the BERT update aims to kind of correct that, that kind of thing. It's important to note that it's not an algorithm update. So it's not a change in how websites are ranked or what Google considers when ranking websites. It's just a change in how queries are analyzed and results are shown. So there's really not a whole lot of it, not much change in how we optimize. The goal is still to write for people first, Google second. We want to write useful content. We're not keyword loading or anything like that. But what this does do from an SEO strategy standpoint, it makes it easier to now optimize for longer tail keywords or more complicated queries or questions. So that is something to keep in mind. This is all part of Google's effort to just improve their product and improve general user experience. Along those lines, within the past few weeks, Google's released an update which now tells users when the results to a query are substandard. So if you type a query into Google and they can't really find a great match for you, you're going to see a prompt that says it looks like there aren't any great matches for your search. So again, this is all just part of Google's effort to improve their product and user experience. Moving on now to featured snippets. I'm sure many of you have seen featured snippets like this before. It's when you type a question, usually a question or a query into Google, you see the result right there on the Google results page rather than having to click into a link. And basically, this is just how Google rewards sites for offering clear, concise answers to common questions. Like I said, you'll see the question answered in the text box before you see any results. You'll also see the URL for that page right there down below, where it says what happens if your dog eats road salt from Lane's Landscaping, a client of ours. Recently, Google released an update where before this update, you would see the featured snippet there, then you'd see that blue URL right below, and then the first traditional organic result below that would be the same URL. They recently released this update where they're eliminating that duplicate URL. So that's no longer showing up on the first page. It's now in most cases at the top of the second page. So there is a little bit less real estate there if you gain a featured snippet, but they are something that we strive for from an SEO standpoint, and they can be highly beneficial and drive a lot of traffic. So now I'm going to move into a poll, which I'm actually using a little bit more like a quiz. So the question is, what percentage of search queries have a featured snippet?
Okay, I have the poll live if everyone wants to vote. And just give it a few more seconds for people to get their answers in. Okay, I'll end the poll.
So the answer is actually 12.3%. So out of 112 million queries that were analyzed, we found that 14 million of them yield featured snippets. So that's about 1 in 9 or so show that. And again, it's just Google's way of rewarding sites for offering clear and concise answers to common questions. There's been a lot of discussion amongst marketers whether featured snippets are helpful. Because when that answer is shown right there on the screen, that means the user doesn't really need to click into your website to see the answer. But we have found that in our experience, yes, pages with featured snippets tend to draw a lot more traffic than those that are just ranked #1 without the snippet. Moving on now to Google My Business, which is extremely important as business owners and managers. I'm sure you know all about this. Now more than ever, Google My Business is the best way to display your company info to potential customers, get updates out there, that kind of thing. The best way to think about it is as your virtual storefront. So it's going to display the featured images that you want to portray your business. It has your business hours, contact info, common questions that people ask. You can display popular products on there, and then of course reviews, which are a huge thing. And yeah, one of the most important aspects of your GMB listing is reviews, which leads me into another poll question, which again, I'm treating kind of like a quiz. what percentage of people read reviews for local businesses before making a purchasing decision?
Okay, I'll just leave it open a few more seconds. We have most of our votes in. And 3, 2, 1.
Very well done there. So yes, the answer is 82%. So 82% of consumers are reading reviews for local businesses before they make a purchasing decision. Just a couple more interesting numbers on Google reviews. So the average local business has 39 reviews. So if you don't have that many, that's something you kind of need to keep in mind. Do not be afraid to ask for reviews. If you have a happy client that's expressed that they were pleased with your service, go ahead and ask for a review. It can't hurt. Reviews aren't only important just for potential customers weighing whether or not to engage with you. They're also a factor in how Google ranks websites. So reviews make up about 15% or so of Google's local pack ranking formula. That local pack is when you enter a query that shows like local results for local businesses, you kind of see the map pack with the 3 listings there. That's what we call the local pack. And again, reviews factor in about 15% of that ranking formula. So that includes your overall rating, of course, the number of reviews you have, and the frequency of reviews. If you have a great rating and you have a lot of reviews, but you haven't had any in a year and a half, that's going to count against you. So Google wants to see reviews coming in at a consistent pace. Also with reviews, you can now sort based on keyword. So with an HVAC company, for example, if you were to click in, you'll see little icons at the top saying, okay, there's 15 reviews that mention furnace repair, and then there's 12 that mention air conditioning. So you can kind of sort and see what people are saying based on different products or services. One important thing for business owners to do is make sure you're replying to reviews, both good reviews and negative reviews. And that can kind of just let people know that, hey, people are unfortunately going to have bad experiences with a business sometimes. You're going to get a bad review here and there. But by replying, you can let people know that, hey, if I do have a bad experience, the owner is going to reach out to me and we're going to resolve this issue. Moving on to the next slide here, Google has recently released a couple updates that are mostly related to COVID. So on the right-hand side there for Advantage AirTech, you'll see the icon down at the bottom that says hours or services may differ. That is showing up a lot or on a lot of different listings nowadays. So something to keep an eye out for. Another thing over on the left for Lane's Landscaping, you'll see it's been marked as temporarily closed. Google, within the past couple weeks, said that if your business is marked as temporarily closed due to COVID, that will not impact your rankings. Previously it would have, but with everything going on, Google has said, okay, if you need to temporarily close, mark your business listing like that, and it will not hurt you or affect your rankings in any way. Moving on now to blogs. So just to talk a little bit about the importance of blogs and kind of the timing around when you want them to go out and that kind of thing. So firstly, with blogs, the goal is to become a resource on a topic, to drive traffic. You really want to provide answers to common questions. It's not always about sell with blogs. In fact, it shouldn't be like that. Blogs are a great opportunity to gain featured snippets, like I talked about earlier. Blogs should be relevant. They can be seasonal, but when you post them, you want to give them time to accumulate authority. So if you're posting a seasonal blog that you wanted to kind of peak around April or so, you don't want to wait until the end of March to post it with the expectation that it's going to be showing up #1 in the first week of April. You have to give it some time. You want to get it out a little bit earlier in maybe middle of late February. What that does is that first of all, gives Google's crawlers time to scroll through your site, to see the blog, to index it accordingly. It also gives people time to view the blog, and when Google sees that people are visiting a page, as a result, they're going to rank it higher. So if you want a blog to rank highly, don't wait until the day or the week before you expect it to peak to post it. Give it a little bit of time to accumulate authority. And then just moving on now to some industry trends. Google Trends, some of you may have seen it or used it before. It's a great tool to use to see how interest in search terms varies over time. It doesn't tell us exactly how many people are searching for a particular thing. We have a different tool that we use for that. It's kind of just used to, like I said, compare the popularity of a term to itself over a certain time frame. So it's useful for identifying changes in search trends, especially now with all the changes and everything that's going on. So businesses can use that info to adjust their services and their product offerings, adjust content strategies, adjust ad budgets potentially, like Shay is going to be discussing shortly. So the first example here is related to yoga. So you can kind of see the stark difference there comparing searches for yoga studios to yoga at home. Yoga studios, obviously the more popular search trend there until recently where they flip. So as a yoga company, for example, you could use this information to adjust your service offerings, potentially offering Zoom classes, one-on-one tutorials that way, or even just adjusting your marketing content strategy to fit those searches, maybe creating blogs or video content around those searches. Moving on now to furnace filters. So this, you can see this is actually going back 5 years now rather than the past just a year like the last one. So furnace filters within the last week reached its peak search popularity over the last 5 years. You can see the little peaks and valleys there going back over time as for seasonal maintenance and that kind of thing, but with the stress on air quality, with everything going on related to COVID, tons of searches for furnace filters, and it's reached kind of peak popularity over this time frame. So that'd be a good time for an HVAC company to promote furnace filters, to promote maintenance. Again, you could increase your paid ad budget, promote it via social media or newsletter, that kind of thing. And like I said, just adjust your strategy to fit what people are searching. With that, thank you for your time. I'm going to hand it back over to Caleb.
Charlie, before you go, I do have a question here in the chat box for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question. How do you use a blog to achieve featured snippets?
So there's a couple ways to do it. One of the first ways is to find keyword phrases that you're already ranking highly for. In most cases, featured snippets they come from the #1 search result for that term. So what you can do is you can find keywords using some programs that maybe you're ranking not quite #1, but you're still on the first page, maybe ranking 3rd or 4th. And then from there, you can kind of just reverse engineer what that featured snippet blog or page is doing. Not necessarily copy them, but take some of the features. So if it's a keyword related to a list or kind of a bullet point type answer, you could use that in your blog. Again, it's Google rewarding clear and concise answers. So maybe answering that question directly within a 2 or 3 kind of sentence space within the blog, that's a great way to do it. Another way is to use keyword research tools to identify kind of quote unquote easy wins. So keywords with lower search volumes, they're going to be easier to achieve featured snippets for. If something's searched 20 or 30 times per month compared to 1,500 times per month, you're going to have a lot easier time working with something that's lower searched and moving up quickly. And again, it's all about answering that question clearly and concisely. And again, just seeing what other people are doing and kind of reverse engineering, trying new things out. You don't want to let your content sit stale. So just there's a couple ways to go about it.
Great, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Charlie. Now, we do understand that was a lot of information there. So if at any point you guys do have questions, please don't hesitate. Use that Q&A box. We will address as many questions as we can. And there are no bad questions, so please send them over our way, and we would love to be able to get those answered for you. So we're now going to kind of shift focus a little bit and move towards the pay-per-click side. So I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Shaya. She's our PPC specialist at WEB ROI, and she's going to be walking you through some of our pay-per-click information.
Thank you very much, Caleb. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. So I'm going to take us through very quickly about paid search, PPC, and some of the updates that have happened recently. But before we do that, I just want to do a quick poll just to find out, what the mix we have here is and what's going on with your PPC. So the questions are up there. If you can vote, please. Are you currently running Google Ads? If yes, are you managing them yourself?
Just give it a few more seconds here. People are just getting their answers in. Okay, perfect.
Okay, great. So we have 33% running ads, 67% saying no. Are you managing it? Okay, so we have quite a good mix here. So some of you are running Google Ads and some of you are managing them yourself. So I believe that this next section will be beneficial to most of you. So moving on quickly, the very first thing that I want to speak about is Google's ad credit. I don't know if everyone knows this, but Google has pledged $340 million in advertising credit to small and medium-sized businesses across Google ad platforms. Now, I know that sounds like a huge amount of money, but if you consider the amount of people around the world who actually advertise on Google, then what each business will receive might not be that much. So if you're expecting thousands of dollars, perhaps you should dial down your expectations a bit. But at the end of the day, it is still something to look forward to, and it's something that you can put towards your advertising budget. Now, how is Google going to determine who gets this credit? Now, small and medium-sized businesses for Google, they already have the way that they measure that. They have a dedicated team in-house that caters specifically to these businesses. And so Google has assured us that they do know who these small and medium-sized businesses are, and they will be given this credit in a way that identifies them properly. Now, how are you going to be eligible? So let's say you're a small and medium-sized business, recognized by Google, and you have advertised on Google. Now, you only will be eligible if you've advertised in Google for 10 out of 12 months of 2019 and January or February of 2020. So let me break down a bit. So if you advertised in 2019 for 10 months and you advertised in January, you will get the advertising credit. If you advertised in 2019 for only 9 months, but you also advertised in January and February, unfortunately, you will not get the credit. So it has to be at least 10 months in 2019 and January or February in 2020. So that's, the eligibility criteria to get this in your Google account. Now, the advertising credit is going to be added directly into your Google account. It will come up as a notification, usually across the top of your account, and you click into that, and then you can actually see, how much this ad credit has been for you. Now, this credit is going to be eligible for Google Ads across all their platforms. So it will be eligible for search, it's going to be eligible for YouTube, it will be eligible for apps as well. So anything that you're doing advertising on the Google Ads platform, this advertising credit will be eligible to run on this. One thing to note though is that this is only eligible for future spend. So you cannot use it to offset any outstanding advertising costs or anything that you have spent previously. It has to be something that you are going to do in the future. Now, there's also an expiry date for this. So once you get the advertising credit, make sure you identify what you want to use it for and start to use it quickly. If you don't use it by December 2020, that advertising credit will expire and you'll not be able to use it anymore. So these are just a few things to note about this. Also, it is going to be 1 credit per customer. Now, what does that mean? Some of us may have different advertising accounts for the same business. So perhaps we have like 5 different products for the same business, and we've decided to open 5 different Google advertising accounts for those different products. What's going to happen, however, is that Google is going to give the credit to your business as a whole. So you're going to receive this credit in only one of your advertising accounts, not every single account that you have. Now, many people are asking, how much are we going to receive really? Google hasn't said how much this is going to be, but the criteria that they're going to use to determine that is how much you have spent on Google historically, the country that you're in, and also the currency with which you used to buy advertising on Google. So this is what is going to determine how much you actually receive within your own advertising account. So now that's it for the Google Ad Credit, and it's going to actually roll out from the end of May. So from the end of next month, people will start to see this credits in their advertising accounts. Now we're going to look at PPC benchmarks and the changes. Now, overall, in the PPC landscape, we have seen an increase in overall click-through rates. Now, click-through rate here just means the rate at which people click on your ads. It's calculated as the number of times your ad shows up, the number of clicks, I beg your pardon, that your ads receive over the number of times that your ad actually shows up in the search engine results, and that is your click-through rate. So over the last few weeks, we have seen an increase in the overall click-through rates from about 3.17% to 5.9%. Now, the rate of increase has varied largely across industries. For an industry like home and garden, we've seen an increase from 2.44% to about 4.78%. Now, home and garden will include businesses like landscapers and, you know, landscaping supplies and things like that. So click-through rate has increased for those as well. Also in the medical field, the click-through rate has increased for health and industry. Strangely enough, the click-through rate has also increased for food and dining. However, the cost per click, so the amount you pay for each click, has actually gone down for these industries. And that's understandable because as people move away from dining at the storefront and, you know, things like that, competition reduces on these platforms. And so it doesn't cost as much to advertise. However, the cost per click for some businesses such as B2B has actually gone up because a lot of people are finding that they now have to start to speak to their customers online, and the competition has increased in this, you know, in these areas. Now, what exactly do these changes mean, and what exactly should we be doing? Now, it really does depend on the industry that you're in, and I just want to give a quick example. So imagine for the travel and tourism industry, you start to see that your click-through rate has gone up or your cost per click is going down. That isn't the time to, you know, get so excited and say, oh, I need to start to increase my budget right now because, you know, more people are looking for my services. You need to take a step back and think about why the click-through rate has increased and why the CPC seems to have dropped. So let's think about it. What is happening now with travel restrictions and people not being able to actually go ahead and go on the holidays that they want to go to? People are starting to search for travel and tourism things, mostly to perhaps cancel their tickets and get a refund. So you run the risk of actually increasing your advertising and then starting to get people click through to your website only to actually ask for a refund or cancel your their ticket. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation. You're paying for a click that you thought was valuable, but then they're actually taking away value from your business. So how do you mitigate against something like this? So if, for example, you're in the travel and tourism industry, we would recommend that you go into your campaign and you filter out people who have upcoming travel. So people who have travel in the next couple of months, you would want to go into your campaign and exclude these audiences. What that will do is it will weed out the people who would most likely come to your website just to cancel their flight bookings or try to get a refund for the travel that they have planned. Now, once you weed out these people, then most of the people who are left are those who actually want to plan maybe travel further down the line when, you know, hopefully this is over. And that's just a way where you can actually go in and look at your campaign based on your industry and based on what is going on. Another thing, like Charlie mentioned, the search trend for furnace filters. So it has gone up recently. In recent times, it has really gone up, especially for HEPA filters. There have been a lot of articles in the news and, you know, blogs as well, with people talking about how HEPA filters can help you remove pollution and viruses from your home environment. So a lot of people are looking for HEPA filters, but then like I said, you need to take a step back and think about this again. Why are they looking for HEPA filters? Are they looking to install one now, or are they looking to validate the information that is out there to say, oh, HEPA filters can help you take viruses away from the air in your environment? So if you're running a campaign, what you need to do is you don't need to then rush forward and say, oh, wow, HEPA filters are the in thing now. I need to put those in my campaign so that when people are searching for HEPA filters, I get found first. No, what is going to happen is if you do that, any and everyone who is looking for information about HEPA filters is going to click on your campaign, and you're going to pay for that click. And what happens, that person comes and the person is just looking for information. So when we start to see search trends go up, we need to take a step back and look at why it is going up. What I would recommend in that situation is, rather than go for broad term keywords like HEPA filter, we want to go for the bottom of the funnel. So those who are actually looking to take action now. So we'd use keywords like buy HEPA filter, whole home HEPA filter, install HEPA filter. Those are people who have an intent to actually buy now. So if I have a campaign that is running and has been running generic HEPA filter keywords, I would want to go into that campaign and start to change the kind of keywords that I have there. So make them more long tail and let the keywords kind of be those who are actually looking to take action now, so that when I do pay for that click, I am more confident that that click can then lead to a phone call or a form fill or an inquiry, at least, so that I can then try to close that lead from there. So it's just different things that we can do. So even though there's a lot of change going on out there, we need to make sure that we're reacting to the change with data. We don't want to react to the change just because it's happening. We want to make informed decisions about this change. Another thing that we can do is also include negative keywords in our campaigns. So if, for example, you only install whole home HEPA filters, you don't want somebody who is looking for individual filters or regular furnace filters. You can actually go into your campaign and put words like perhaps small, individual into your negative keywords, or perhaps cheap, or things like how to, because those people are looking for more information rather than looking to buy right now. So these things can help us weed out the people who are not necessarily interested in buying, who are looking for information. So we want to make sure that the clicks that we're paying for are those who are actually willing to buy right now. Now, another thing is, because of what is going on right now, we need to start to look at the information that we're putting into our ads. And that takes us to the next thing, which is site link extensions and callout extensions. Now, these are just, I call them attachments that you add to your PPC ads when you've actually put them together. Now, I know that a lot of us have, those of you who are running your campaigns yourself, and even those who have external people running their campaigns as well, they've taken a lot of time to build out these ads for you based on the services that you're offering and based on maybe the goods that you're actually selling as well. And they've taken a lot of time to go through this and build out an ad in a way that appeals to your customer. So it might be difficult at this time to actually go in and start to make changes or create new ads. So I say that site links and callout extensions are kind of like a quick fix to let people know exactly what is going on at this time. If you have any additional services or additional offerings, so your site link extensions will be things like your COVID service update, if you have one. Callout extensions would be something like no contact service, financing options now available, because I know a lot of people are starting to give financing options for their services because of what is going on right now. And some people are starting to offer delivery. So if, for example, you weren't offering delivery before and now you're offering delivery, rather than go in and change your entire ads, you can just add in a call out extension at the bottom of your ad. And I will show you this in subsequent slide what that looks like. But just talking about this is something that you can actually just put in your ad so that people can see immediately that there is a change. But if you feel like your business has really, really changed a lot and the ads are no longer relevant and you need to make a few changes, for example, to things like your headlines, which a lot of the time includes our main call to action. So if, for example, you used to tell people to come and walk into the store or request a quote or things like that, and now your storefront is closed and you want people to order online because you now have an e-commerce website, what you can do is you can make bulk changes to your ad at once. So if 5 of your ads have the same headline with a call to action that says shop in store or find a location, and you now want it to say shop online, you can actually do that all at once in Google and change out just that headline to now say shop online rather than shop in store. So these are just little things that we can do to the campaigns right now without having to go in and do a complete overhaul of the campaign. that we have right now. So if you just go on to the next slide, I can show you quickly what that would look like in terms of an ad and a search engine results page. So the first thing we can see here is Van Beek's Landscape Supply, one of our clients, and where I've highlighted actually is where the call out extensions actually show up. Now this can only be 25 characters in length. So if you are creating a strategy to actually use call out extensions, make sure that what you want to say can fit into 25 characters, and that includes spaces. Yes. So here you can see soil delivery, high quality mulch, preferred contractors and things like that. But in this time, things like that can change to maybe free delivery, no contact service, soil delivery, and things like that. So they show up on your ads, and you can people can actually see that and click on your ads quickly just to find out more information. Now at the bottom you can see landscaping supplies, bin service, aggregates, natural stone. These are what we call site link extensions. Now the headline can only be 25 characters as well, but you can see that there's a description below that allows you to tell people more about what they're going to get when they click in, and that can be up to 2 lines and 35 characters each. So what happens is these site link extensions, you can actually click through to them immediately. So this would be great for something like your COVID service updates. It would be good for maybe current promotions, view financing options. One thing to bear in mind though is that this doesn't appear on every single ad format. So for example, if you're on mobile, the top result might show the site link extensions but not show the description of the site link extension. So you want to make sure that your headline for your site link is descriptive enough that people will want to click on it to know exactly what is going on there. And also for your call out extensions, they usually show up sometimes and sometimes they don't, which is why I've also said if you need to change your headline as well, this is something that can also be done as quickly as adding a site link extension to your ads. Now, all these things that we need to add, they actually require approval. So Google needs to review them and approve. But Google has been good with the reviews and approval, and this has been taking less than 24 hours, just a couple of hours as well. Now I know we've been talking a lot about paid search and PPC campaigns, but I also just wanted to touch that if you're running a display campaign with a visual at this time, it might also be a good idea just to review it or get the person who's running it for you to review what kind of visuals are being used at this time. And the reason for that is if you have a business that has been using visuals of a lot of people gathered in certain places, or a lot of people gathered around the pool, or maybe it's running promotion for barbecue products or something, and you have people gathered in like a party scene, that now might not be the best time to be running that kind of ad, just to be sensitive to the mentality of people and how people are thinking at this time, and to reflect what is going on. It might be a good idea just to turn that down a bit, maybe just have one person in your ad, or 1 or 2 people who are keeping a safe distance apart. This is just something to think about for display ads as well. That kind of brings me to the end of what I have to share today. But like everyone has said, there's a Q&A section. If you have any questions at all, even not related to what we've discussed here, please feel free to ask, and we will do our best to answer. Thank you very much. I just hand back to Denise.
Thanks, Shaya. We do actually have a question. If you want to stay on, I do have a question here regarding the Google ad credit. So it says, what if I meet the criteria for Google ad credit, but I switch agencies halfway through the year? Do I still qualify?
Oh, right. Okay, that's a very good question. Well, most likely, yes, you will still qualify, because Google actually has the information of the business rather than just the information of the advertiser. So what will happen is Google should be able to marry the 2 accounts together, especially if the domain that you're driving advertising to is exactly the same. However, if you start to see that people have started to receive the advertising credit in your region and you haven't received anything, you need to get your agency to reach out to their partners in Google, and they can help you mitigate this and find out what is going on and how to ensure that you get your credit. So definitely I feel that Google will have something in place to ensure that everyone who is eligible will be able to get that.
Okay, perfect. I have actually one more on the ad credit as well. Everyone's curious on it. It says an agency runs my ads for me. Oh, sorry. And how do I ensure that they're making the necessary changes at this time? So sorry, not on the credit, but.
Oh, okay. Right. So That's very easy. The best thing I always say is speak to them, speak to your agency, be honest with them, let them know what knowledge you have, and let them know, okay, so I was on a webinar recently and the person spoke about PPC, excuse me, and these are the things that recommending. What do you think? Have we made any changes to our account? If not, why? If we have made any changes, can you let me know what those are? And let's discuss them together. So it's always best to speak to them, let them know what you're thinking, and see where both of you are at.
Perfect. So I think that might be it for questions. I don't see anything else coming in. No. So thank you everyone for joining us today. If you have questions afterwards, or if you think of anything else, if there's a topic you'd like covered next time, or if you just want to say hi, please email us at support@webroi.ca. It's on the bottom of the next slide as well. You can also join us next time when we go over no shirt, no shoes, no problem, the need for e-commerce. More and more businesses are moving to online shops, and we're going to discuss what's needed for an e-com setup, what's involved, and then more importantly, how do you promote it? The registration link for that webinar will be sent out as well as a copy of this video recording. And if that is everything, then thank you all again and enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, sorry, and one more. Are we going to be able to access the recording at a later time? Yes, so we will be sending the link, and it will be, you'll be able to have it saved for you at another time for the full recording. Got one in there. No problem. Okay, I believe that is it. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you for watching. Please click the subscribe button below so you never miss any of our updates. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at WEB ROI. If you have any questions or want to register for our upcoming webinars, email us at support@webroi.ca.